Welcome back. We're back up here again at Mum's place, working on the boat again. Today, we've got a big day. We've got Jamie coming over, and we're also going to fiberglass the bottom of the hull, which will be awesome. Also trim a couple of the edges off the hatches because some of them are really tight. We've got to make sure there's a 3mm gap around all of them so that the rubber seals it. I'm going to draw up all that just before he gets here so we can hit it with the planer. I'll show you what stuff he's got me to get, and then we'll get into it as soon as he arrives. So, got another batch of this, the 105 and the 206 hardener and the epoxy resin. So the 410, pair of sharp scissors. These probably aren't going to do. I'm going to have to go get another pair. Probably steal Mum's from the kitchen. 75mm paintbrushes, plastering trowel. This is a 280mm by 120 wide by the looks of it. 280 by 120. Disposable paint pots to put your resin in. You'll need your mixing cups as well. I've got them. You can just keep cracking out the resin if you mix it in the cup. So I've still got a heap of them. Your expensive mixing sticks. I go to Coles. They're about $2.50 for a heap of mixing sticks. And 10 meters of Dynel Cloth. Sorry, I forgot the name for a second. 10 meters of Dynel Cloth. That's not cheap either. That's about $15 a meter, which is pretty cheap. But then if you buy 10 meters of it, it gets expensive. They're all the stuff we're going to be using today. Righto guys, as soon as Jamie gets here, we'll get into it. I'm going to set up my camera gear. Jamie is back and he's happy with my work. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we've just drew lines on all the hatches for how much we're going to take off with the planer. And now we're going to give her a bit of a flip over and start the hull. G, come on. Yeah. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Is that not amazing?
That's bloody good.
Pretty much a professional boat builder.
Oh, I think so.
So we just flipped the boat over, fixing up any edges, rounding off any corners that need to be rounded off. How long does this normally take?
The glass inside of it. A couple of hours, max.
Couple of hours?
Yeah, if that. Before we just make sure where are we? Oh. Naturally.
So we're just laying this is Dynel Cloth. Yeah. We've got 10 meters of it, so we should have enough.
So like here where it's going to pinch because of the change in the angle, we've got to put a cut, like a little V in it, so that it can fold around.
Right.
Hey, you've got enough hanging over the nose?
Yeah, I got heaps.
Yeah,
heaps.
Drag it back.
Might take a while, but proper sewing scissors. These are good. They'll cut. Oh, look at that. That's precise. Got some sewing scissors.
Like the only time the old man will ever go into Lincraft, eh?
Yeah, to get scissors?
Yeah. He's like, I need new Dynel scissors. Come back, $80 pair of scissors. Like the big, real long ones.
Oh, yeah.
Straight cuts. Not like that one, Majesty.
No. Now it's wonky. So we're just creating a seam. Is that a seam?
Yeah, joint, whatever. Yeah,
creating a joint. So you just had to take out a strip of about that much, just so it's not folding over on each other.
Bubbles. Yeah.
Take out air bubbles. So that's it there.
And because the hull's already really strong, we don't particularly need bulk strength like you do fiberglass.
Right.
It's more about building up the surface of epoxy for abrasion resistance and
righto.
We'll stitch in, we'll overlap.
So you want about 1 inch to 2 inches of overhang around all your surfaces. Righto. So that's it. That's ready.
That's basically ready to go.
Next step is the epoxy.
Start mixing.
So we got. Oh my goodness. That's $45. So we got your paintbrushes.
And basically, I'll probably start, and by the time you mix a batch, I'll mix another batch. So you get rid of the white. You got to get rid of all the white spots. Get it to properly soak in.
How come we're starting here? Is there a reason?
Not really. I just want to make sure that I get like a nice run across, sort of going, and then I can pull the sheet both ways.
Yeah.
Like, to get all the creases and stuff out as you go.
Listen to Jamie, guys. Knows what's going on.
Sort of. You just pat that. If you work along that, just patting that edge down so it stays. Just, It's like some people use a roller, but then I find with a roller, as you roll it, like it starts pulling it up behind you.
So Jamie came over this morning, helped us do all the Dynel Cloth, which was awesome. It's just set. I accidentally bought the fast drying epoxy, so which was actually okay. If it had been any sunny, it wouldn't have worked, but it's been pouring rain all day, so it went off perfectly. Check this out. All of it done. It's pretty much set now, but absolutely stoked with it. So these are the joins. Doesn't matter if there's little bits of gaps. I'm just going to go around now. That's what the Stanley knife's for. I'm just going to go around now and cut off all the excess. Check it out. The whole thing's done. The next process I'm going to do next week, because I actually need to go and buy another 5 litres of epoxy. Not cheap. A little bit devo about that, but that's all right. Have to wait for next payday. Super happy with the job we did. A few little wrinkles, but next job's to sand it. I'll probably sand it tomorrow or Monday. And then next week, I've got to use this 410 West system and screed it on and make it all smooth and sand it back. So I'm just going around now with this, and you just pull it tight. I can't really do it while filming, but you're just cutting and leaving a little bit that you can grind off later or hit with a sander. I'm just going to cut off around the whole edge. So it doesn't matter if there's a bit of overlap or a bit of sticking up, I'll hit it with the sander. Small gaps are okay. Morning guys, it is the next morning. She's sturdy and dry. Check it out. We've got 2 jobs to do today. One of them is to go around with a sander and flatten out all the high bits. So all along here, any of your corner stuff that's sticking up, around your crossovers, around there, all around here. Want to neaten that out. Any marks in there or any flies that may have landed on it. So you just want to go through, there's a few little lumps and bumps back there. Go through with the sander, about 80 grit you want, and we're going to take that all off. And then the second job will be to wash the boat with warm soapy water, get any oils off there, and then rinse it with fresh water, let her dry, and she's ready for next week. So once you've made it all smooth with your sandpaper and your sander, check it out. Oh, it was a bit of an exercise then. Gonna have to take it outside and there you go, do your overlaps. I did all the edges as well, so it should all be meeting, like all around the edges. So it should all be the same level as your ridge. Once that's done, gonna wheel it outside now, go get detergent and some warm soapy water in a bucket and wash it down with a sponge. Mum's not gonna be too happy, but I gotta go nick some of her stuff. Right, let's give her a wash. First time this bad girl's getting wet. So we've got our warm water, roughly about 45 degrees. Not really sure, that's a guess. And we've got Morning Fresh. This is the soap we're gonna use. Passion fruit and pear, limited edition. 1 squirt is enough. That's a lie. You want about 3 squirts. Good healthy mix in there. Sponge or a washer. Put that in there. Get your mum's best ones. We got to give her a wash because the wash takes all the oils and everything off. So the next step is that plastering with the 410, and you want that to make sure that that's bonding really well. So you don't want any oils or any residue on your boat. So that's what we got to remove. Hence the warm soapy water. Let's get into this. All done, washed, hosed off with some fresh water. Clean as a whistle. The flies seem to love it. What are they doing? Leave her out here to dry. Put her away this afternoon. Should be ready to go next week when I get back up. Right, so you need your measuring cup and some mixing tools or your spoons. And what else do you need? You need a batch to mix it in. So a couple of these ice cream containers. Got some down there. Same as what we've been doing, 5-to-1 with the epoxy. Your hardener. Pour that in. Mix it till it's clear. Put it in your container. What you want to do with that, take that, put it upside down so it doesn't leave any on the bottom of the container. You want to come over here, get your 410, oh you idiot, get your 410 West System Microlight. Then you just want to pour a bit in like so, and then start mixing her. Looking for the same consistency. You don't want any run, because if it's runny, then while it's setting, it's just going to slowly run off the boat. So you want to get it to that whipped cream consistency where you lift it up and there's no movement or very minimal movement. Especially when you're on the sides of the boat, you don't want any run whatsoever, so maybe slightly thicker. It looks like caramel, but don't eat it. Not good for you. There you go, that's the consistency you're looking for. Barely moves. You want to take your 280mm trowel, plastering trowel, and we're going to pour this onto the boat. It's so hard to get out once you mix it up. Get all of it out of the container as much as you can. It's a lot of money for this stuff. You don't want to waste it. We're going to try and work in the middle of the boat first so that we're not leaning over wet stuff trying to get into the middle. There we go. Right, grab your trowel and then you just want to flatten her out. Spread her out. The smoother you make it with the trowel, the less sanding you have to do later. So you just keep smoothing it out. I've never done this before, so we're just kind of winging it. Right, so once you're happy with it spread, I don't think I'm going to get it any flatter than that. Once you're happy with it spread, mix up another batch. Probably, actually, because you don't want this going off, because I've only got one trowel, get a bit of, what is it, methylated spirits. Get an old rag. Put a little bit of metho on the rag. And then clean it off, because you don't want it going off on here, making it hard for you to spread the next time. And then start on another batch. Flies and ants love this stuff. No idea why. So try and keep them off the best you can. Probably better with 2 people this job, but you can do it with 1. But if one person's mixing up the batches and the other person's screeding it on, you could probably get it done fairly quickly. Righto, another batch done. Leave that to dry and then you can just rip it out afterwards. When you're doing the corners, you want a nice, like rounded edge, and you want it kind of scoop it up onto the edge, because when you sand it back, you don't want to bring it back down to that cloth. So you want to make sure that you've got a fair bit layered up on the corners. If you just kind of scoop it up, so you kind of put that bubble there in the corner, and then you can kind of bring it down from that bubble on the corner. Kind of scrape it, get it a nice even consistency, and if you've got a hole, you just put some extra bog in there. Do a little less. So it was a little thinner down there, so put a bit in the hole and just slide it along. You definitely improve at this as you go, so it was a little bit daunting at first, but I think I got the hang of it to the point where my boat's going to turn out pretty well. Put a little bit on the side so you can kind of just, if you've got some on your thing, just put it in the holes where you think it's going to need it. Push it down a bit, plenty on the corners because you can work with that. Like so. It's a bit harder with the sides because you can't just stick your thing in because you'll cause a bump. So you kind of have to go the full length. So you start down the end so you get a nice consistent feed all the way along. That way you don't get your line. You'll work it out as you go. Maybe start with smaller batches till you start getting the hang of it. And then as you get professional, see, push the stuff off your that's pretty much it. It's a lot easier when you've already got a little bit done because you can kind of get the height from your last one and then just drag it on from there. Definitely get a lot better as you go. Check, look at that. That's just sensational. By the time I build my third boat, I'm going to have this down pat. The best way I've found to do the corners is to grab your top section, you come down along the corner like so. That'll push most of it over the side. Then you come, wipe off your excess. Then scrape off as much as you can so that you're not putting too much of a dint in here, because if you put epoxy on epoxy it'll grab it, make it look gross. So then you put the metal blade gently and then run along the side like so, and it should give you a nice neat corner. Well, neat enough that there's enough epoxy on it to sand later. Morning. So yesterday we ran out of filler. I forgot to film yesterday after we did it. I ended up running back down to the Gold Coast. Went to Coomera Boatworks. It was a lot cheaper there. Boatworks Drive in Coomera. A lot cheaper to get your supplies from there than it has been where I've been getting it. It's like 40% cheaper because they're like a wholesaler. Remember that if you're building your boat, get it from a wholesaler. A lot cheaper. Yeah, I got probably 3/4 of the boat done. I spent a lot of time trying to make it smooth. It ends up flattening itself out kind of thing. There's still It's very smooth, very hard. Pretty happy with how I did. First attempt at doing this sort of stuff. I think I got it all. Bloody fly landed on it. So yeah, we're gonna get straight back into it this morning, finish her off, give it a couple of days, and then get into her on the sander and hopefully get her finished off. So guys, this morning I almost finished the boat. Check it out. Just missed this section here. I run out of filler again, so I'm just gonna go by 1 litre packet, and that'll finish that off and cover any holes that I find while I'm sanding. I've just started the sanding process. I'm just about to set up my cameras. My sandpaper just ripped, so I'm about to replace it. So I thought a good time to start filming. I've just started this back section, as you can see. I found the mesh here, so I have to fill that. And then I think this is all right, finding because that's just like the frayed section. So that's all right if you come across that, but you will have to bog, like if you find it's kind of hard. There we go, focus on that. You got to patch that if you find that. It is an overlay section, so it's not too bad, but I'll chuck a bit more bog on that and then sand her up. Yeah, just going over it, 180 grit sandpaper. And what happens is when you start sanding it, it'll show up better on top. But you start to get this lovely white section. And when you start sanding it, like you start to see all the bubbles, and you just keep going until it turns this pure white, which means she's nice and flush. If you come across any big holes, probably don't sand them because you'll go down to the mesh. Come back over it, put a bit of bog in it, and then sand it back later. Otherwise, you'll constantly be going down to the mesh. In for a long day of sanding. Just going to set up the time-lapse camera and then get into this afternoon and do as much as I can. And then going to head off and grab some bog tomorrow morning. Let's get into it. It is looking so good once you sand it back. I think I've done pretty well for someone who has never done this and kind of just taken, it's getting so pumped. It's getting so close to being ready, hey. Oh, I just want it on the water. I want to go fishing. I've had enough sitting in the shed every weekend. I want to get out there. We are back. Hamish is back.
What's up?
This is a rock show. We're back. We're working on. This is the last weekend we're spending on the boat before she gets painted, so we've got the final touches to do. If you've made it this far, today is going to be very easy for you because it's nothing different to what you've been doing. We've got some 30 by 12 mil Taz oak for our strakes on the bottom of our boat. All we're going to be doing is measuring the center, putting one down the center to where it turns up at the front of the boat, and then 2 3/4 lengths, 150 in from the sides. Probably take 10 or 15 minutes to get it measured up and all good. Shouldn't take too long at all. And then it's just a simple case of the epoxy glue with your 411 filler and glue and screw. Got Hamish here helping me. You can do it one person, it's gonna be easier too, so grab him, come along. He's also got some tools. Gonna start with the bottom, Then we've got the bumper rails around on the side. I'll show you that when we get to it. First up, small job, just attaching the strakes on the bottom of the boat. Gonna get into it, 15 minutes to measure it up, and then we'll start cutting and gluing. So we just finished the strakes, glued and screwed. Check it out, pretty much perfect. Look at that. Boom. We're gonna flip the boat over now and work out how to do this bumper rail. Jamie's pre-cut some ones for where the hatches will be sitting out of 30 by 18. So I'll measure that up and tell you that later, but we're gonna flip this over first, work out how to do the bumper rails, and then let you know how to do it. But it's the same process. Epoxy glue, screw it off around the whole boat. All the sides and the front, but not the back. Morning. Yesterday we had a massive day. We ended up finishing all the rub rails. Take a look at it, all around the boat here, along there, along the front, along the side. Just putting the tack screws in there. This morning I removed all the screws from the boat. Some of the heads snapped off, but that's all right. When we did this rub rail on the side here of the hatches, we put screws in the top and bottom just to keep it as tight up and flush as we could. So I think that worked well. So if you're doing that, make sure you put them in the top and bottom. Remove all the screws. And then the job we've got today is I've got a Zeta planer, and I don't even think they still make these, but we've had it for about 20 years. The old sander. We've got 40 grit on there. And there was a big gap between this one and this one. So what I'm doing is I'm planing it back to the same width as that. So just hit it with the planer and then finish it off with the sander. So that's what I'm doing this morning. So I've got to make sure it's all nice and smooth all the way around the rub rail. Making sure that after it gets painted, it won't look weird on there. So I've got to make sure that's all smooth. Then sand it all neat and waterproof the top. And then I've got to waterproof the 3 rails that we did on the bottom, the 3 strakes we did on the bottom. And that is all I've got to do today. Big job, but not that difficult. Just epoxying, filling all the screw holes, making sure it's all neat with the sander around the edges. And then waterproofing her this afternoon. So we just finished off all the sanding to where I like the finish of it. Got the corners nice and rounded. Got everything straight, that's all flush. Down here is all flush. So when you've got it to the point where everything's sanded to where you like it, it's time to mix up some epoxy, same as what we've been doing with the 411 microfill, and start filling all your gaps. So that's our next step for today. This one kind of comes in a bit. I think the wood wasn't cut as straight, so this one comes in quite a bit. So I've actually left it like that, and I'm gonna fill that with epoxy and get that looking nice and neat rather than keep taking that back. Otherwise the bumper rail will just get too thin. So that was the only downfall. So yeah, on to one of the last steps, which is just filling all the screw holes. I got the vacuum cleaner over the whole boat as well, took away all the dust and vacuumed all the holes so there's no sawdust left in there, so I can see the holes. I'm gonna mix up a tiny batch of epoxy, jam it in all the holes. Finished off puttying all the holes this morning around all the boat. The last job before today is to put masking tape around the edge of the boat. and then waterproof everything that's not waterproof. So 2 coats of epoxy on all the deck, and then anywhere where you need to waterproof just needs epoxy on it. And then hopefully tomorrow morning I can flip the boat over and waterproof the 3 rails that we've got on the bottom. And then you've got to lightly sand it all back. So we just finished, what have we finished? We finished everything really. We took away a little bit of the back edge along all this, along all the rails, so that even with the foam, the hatch lids are going to close nicely. So that's all done, neaten that up. Just put all the masking tape around with a bit of newspaper to stop any drips going on the hull. So, because I don't really want to be sanding back the hull anymore. Newspaper and masking tape around all the edges. 5-to-1 with your West system, and then just paint her on. And then we're going to do 2 coats. So any bare spots, any spots that need to be a little bit filled, jam it in there. Get up underneath the rail. That's why I put that there, because I'm going to be jamming it up, making sure it's all watertight. And then once you finish the first coat, wait till it goes tacky. You'll feel it. If it sticks to you but doesn't stick to your hand, it's tacky. And then do your second coat. So 2 coats of epoxy. Gonna jump straight into it, get this finished. Just finished the first coat. Oh no, flies. Go away, please. Gotta watch for flies. They love epoxy, and you don't want to be sanding them out later on. So keep an eye on it. Just finished the first coat. How good does that look? So it's gonna give it 10 or 15 minutes just to become tacky, and then we're gonna go over. Didn't use too much epoxy actually to get that done, so I was pretty impressed with that because we don't have a lot left. And I still have to do all the hatch lids and everything. Probably just enough to finish the boat, really. It's gonna suck. Gonna have to do hatches go get some more for the hatches. Is that another fly? Get off. And another one. And another one, far out. They've all come out after this rain. They're landing on my epoxy. Gonna give that 10 or 15 minutes just to dry. I'm gonna watch it for any flies that are getting in. This is annoying. Oh, there's another one. Really happy with that. Make sure you really get it onto any exposed ply because it's really gonna soak it up. So any of your transom, that sort of thing, really soak it into that. Any of your boards have to get soaked in. Make sure that's all done. And then when you've done the second coat, wait for it to become tacky, and then you've got to remove all your masking tape because if you wait too long, it'll end up sticking it to the boat. So make sure to remove the masking tape after the second coat's still wet. Give it 10 or 15 minutes and then I'll start the second coat. On the boat, I just spent the last 15 minutes going around and picking out all the flies. You pick them out and they leave half their body behind, so you'd have to scrape that out too. Look like the battlefield from the movie Ants. So second coat is done. Look, there's the remains of a bug. Second coat is done. Blood sacrifice. I'm gonna wheel this in the garage and shut the door. Maybe that'll help stop some flies flying on it. But it actually looks really good with the white on bottom and the wood on top. Jamie's assured me that the upkeep on a wooden boat with just varnish or epoxy on top is harder, so I'm gonna paint the whole thing. Gotta flip it over tonight when it's all dry and do the 3 runners on the bottom. And then next week, Friday night, I'll go over the boat with the sander. Just a real light sand and the wax and grease remover, get it a real nice finish before it gets painted. So we're back again. The last step I took you through was waterproofing the whole boat, which was 2 coats of the epoxy all over the top. I've spent the last weekend and this weekend now sanding it all back, getting it ready for paint. It's booked in for painting Monday and Tuesday afternoon. Got to get it done before then. It is now Sunday. It's now Sunday. I've waterproofed the hatches, 2 coats of epoxy on my hatches, front side and back side, so I have to sand them. But we've done the boat. I did 180 grit on the top because it set really nicely and that was really easy to sand. The hatches are an absolute pain because there's drip marks everywhere. So if I squirt that around, that's not too bad. Like, I'm probably going to leave that like that. Can't really get any better than that. But where you see a lot of drip marks, I'm trying to get rid of some of the major drip marks so that the paint finish is quite nice. Once this step's done, you go down and you buy a 5 litre container of wax and grease remover and then just go over the whole boat and she's ready for paint. We're using a 2-pack marine paint. You can paint it on yourself using a paintbrush, but because I spent so much time and effort painting this, I want it done properly, so I'm going to go with a spray gun. So I've booked it in with a booth, someone who knows what they're doing, they can show me how to do it. She'll be spray painted, this one. 2-pack marine paint, really, really good stuff, really expensive. It's about $480 for all the paints and thinners and everything like that, so quite expensive, the paints. It's going to look really nice. Right, so we made it down the Gold Coast and got the boat into a spray booth. We're going to do the underside first. You can paint this on with paint brushes. It's a 2-pack marine paint. I've decided to go all out, so we're going to be spraying it on in a spray booth. Going to be doing the spraying. Guy is going to be showing me how to do it. I've never been in a spray booth before, so this is the first for me. Probably recommend painting or rolling because it's going to be easier. But I'm going to go for a really crisp finish on the boat. Can't believe she rode down the Gold Coast in one piece. Get excited, guys. So once you've got it all sanded back to the desired finish, then you have to give it a clean with either wax and grease remover or metho. Give it a real nice clean so the paint will stick, so no shiny spaces left after you put the epoxy on. And then give it a real nice clean with the wax and grease remover or the metho. And then she's ready to paint. So we've got the bottom of the boat marked off. We're gonna go just the hull. So I've marked it off around the edge, drop the sheet down, gave it another clean with metho, rock in the background, and there's my Pipe Dream 3.0, ready to go. First coat done, sorry about the noise, it's ventilation. Check it out. Primer's gone down on the bottom, done all the bottom of the hatches. Woohoo! Painting! So yesterday we got all the hull painted and underneath all the hatches done. Then it didn't dry as fast as we were hoping to, so we had to go home for the night and I've just come back. So I'm not doing more filming in there, just want to get out of Guy's way. I don't want to put him out too much. In regards to painting your boat, I think it's probably best to go and see your local paint shop. All the paints come with data sheets, whether you want to spray it, roll it or brush it. They all come with separate Part Bs. So see your local paint shop, they'll sort you out with that. Just brushing it on is probably the easiest. Yeah, I'll just keep putting the camera on and time lapses and stuff like that so you guys can see it get painted. But yeah, just not going through the whole detail of it. Just staying out of Guy's hair, so we're just getting it done and hopefully getting out as soon as possible. Just finished the primer, just sprayed it all on the inside and the outside. So I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. Look at that, sensational. It's about an hour to put all the primer on, did all the top coat of the hatches. It's looking awesome. Hatches came up a lot better than I expected. That looks pretty clean to me. I'm super happy with that. Still got to sand it all back, so once that dries, you've got to sand it all back and then put your top coat on. But we're going to do a quick first coat of grey on the inside. So we're just going to mix that up now. Get in there, put a layer of grey on the inside only. Well, we did 2 coats on the inside, all the hatches, so we don't have to sand them back. Still gonna sand back the outside and then put the coat on that. I'm probably gonna have to pick up some more paint. There's a lot of paint went into the hatches just to make sure it was all covered. Look at that, doesn't it look great? Can't wait. Woohoo! So I'll come back this afternoon, keep going with it. I'm gonna go pick up some more paint now and go to work. Nice. And then we'll just keep sanding and painting this afternoon. Hopefully get it knocked over tonight, maybe. Onto the final session of grey. What we've been doing is you spray down a coat of Easy Glide and then you get 320 grit sandpaper and you go back until it is so smooth it's not funny. Look at that. So hopefully she's all flat. Ready for the final coat of grey to go on the backs and the sides. Then once that's done, do the hatches and then add a splash colour tomorrow morning. First we've got to mask up the boat, just giving it a wipe over. From here on in, it's just putting stuff together.